put everything on the line for his dream movie. He mortgaged his beach house to fund it. His accountant begged him not to spend $38 million of his own cash. He didn't listen. The first movie bombed, making less than he invested. Now he's struggling to finish the other parts. He's selling things and moving money around. Friends say he's operating on a wing and a prayer. Right now, Kevin Costner is stuck in a nightmare. And here's what's really going on. Kevin Costner was born in 1955 in a small California town called Linwood. His parents weren't rich or famous. His dad worked digging ditches before becoming a utility worker, and his mom was in welfare services. A tragedy had already hit the family before Kevin was even born. His middle brother died at birth. That left just Kevin and his older brother Dan. His family background was a mix of German, English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and even Cherokee roots. They were religious Baptists, and life was simple, even tough at times. Nobody, looking at that quiet boy back then, could have guessed he would one day become one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Kevin's childhood wasn't settled. His family moved a lot because of his father's job. He was always the new kid, switching schools across different towns like Compton, Ventura, and Visalia. Making friends wasn't easy. It made him shy and unsure of himself. But instead of giving up, he started daydreaming. He found comfort in music and poetry. He sang in the church choir and kept writing poems quietly, never showing them to anyone. School didn't make much of a mark, but something else did. When he was 7, he saw the film How the West Was Won. It hit him hard. Something about the wide-open frontier, the rawness of it all, stayed in his heart. That movie planted a seed he didn't even know would grow into the stories he'd one day bring to life on screen. At first, though, Kevin had a very different worry. By the time he finished high school, he was just 5 feet, 2 inches. He was small and nervous about it. He once asked his mother if he was ever going to grow, and she simply told him, "I swear you are going to grow, honey." She was right. Over the next few years, he grew 11 inches and reached 6 feet, 1 inch. Doctors call that catch-up growth, and it's rare. But even before he shot up, he was tough. He played basketball, football, and baseball in high school, holding his own against much bigger kids. One of his baseball teammates, Dennis Burt, even made it to the pros. Kevin didn't become a sports star, but that strength, the fight in him, never left. Right after graduating in 1973, Kevin did something bold. Obsessed with the Lewis and Clark expedition, he decided to follow their route. He built a canoe by hand. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. He loaded it onto a beat-up truck and hit the road alone. He paddled rivers and camped in wild places, reading, "Bury my heart at Wounded Knee under the stars." That book broke him open. It told the painful truth of what Native Americans endured, and it left a mark on him. Night after night, he cried reading it. That trip wasn't just about history. It changed how he saw the world. It shaped how he'd tell stories in the future, especially in films like Dances with Wolves. That summer turned him into someone who cared deeply about the past and about giving voice to those who had been silenced. A few years later, something happened that most people wouldn't believe, unless it was written in a movie script. In 1978, Kevin had just gotten married and was flying back from Mexico with his new wife. Sitting on the same flight was none other than Richard Burton, one of the greatest actors of all time. Burton had bought up all the seats around him, but Kevin still walked over, waited quietly, and asked if he could talk for just a moment. When Burton opened his eyes, Kevin told him something he hadn't even said to his wife. He wanted to act, but didn't want a life full of drama. Burton looked at him and said, "You have green eyes. I have green eyes. I think you'll be fine." That short, strange moment stayed with Kevin. As their plane landed, Burton's limo pulled up beside Kevin and his wife, who were waiting for a cheap bus. Burton rolled down the window and told him, "Good luck." That was it. That one moment changed everything. Kevin quit his marketing job after just a month. He started taking acting classes every night and worked odd jobs to pay the bills, driving trucks, working on fishing boats, even giving bus tours of celebrity homes. He was far from famous, but something had been lit inside him. He had no money, no connections, and no clear path. But he had one thing that mattered more than all that. He had belief. Kevin Costner didn't start with red carpets and big paychecks. His career began with a film he later wished never existed. Back in the late 1970s, broke and desperate, he took a role in a low-budget movie called Sizzle Beach, USA. It wasn't released until 1981, and by then, Costner already regretted it. The film had soft core elements, and while filming one of its intimate scenes, Costner felt something inside him break. He decided right then that he'd never do anything like it again, no matter how long he had to wait for real work. That decision came with a cost. For nearly 6 years, he barely worked, scraping by on small gigs and side jobs. He even tried to buy the rights to the movie later, so no one would ever see it. But the distributor refused and re-released it once he became famous, using his name to sell tickets. He did land some roles, but nothing changed his life. In The Big Chill, he was cast as a man who had taken his own life. His character's death was the reason the others reunited. He shot all the flashback scenes, emotional, powerful stuff. Then the director cut all of it, every single scene, gone. The only part left was the shot of his dead body in the opening. Just a face, no lines, no credit. It was supposed to be his big break. Instead, it was another door that slammed shut in his face. So he kept grinding, a background role in Francis, a forgettable face in an Appaloosa commercial, a few more small films nobody saw. He'd been working, technically, but he wasn't moving. Casting directors didn't remember his name. He felt invisible. He later said it felt like being the new kid in school every day. His family had moved around a lot when he was younger, and that same lonely feeling followed him into Hollywood. Still, he kept going. He dreamed. He waited. Then the phone rang. It was Lawrence Kasdan. The same director who'd cut him out of The Big Chill felt guilty. He remembered how good Costner had been, even if no one else got to see it. So he gave him another chance, a real one. He offered him a role in Silverado, not just any role, but one that would finally let Costner show what he could do. It worked. Costner was charming, funny, and full of energy. People noticed. For the first time, they remembered him. That film opened doors. One of those doors led to The Untouchables in 1987. Big budget, big names, and somehow Costner got the lead. He wasn't the studio's first choice, not even close. Harrison Ford passed. So did Mel Gibson and Jack Nicholson. But Steven Spielberg, who had worked with Costner before, vouched for him. He told the director, "This guy's going somewhere," and he was right. Costner starred opposite Robert De Niro and Sean Connery, and he held his own. The movie made over $100 million. Suddenly, Costner wasn't a struggling actor anymore. He was a star, but he didn't stop to celebrate. His next move was Bull Durham, and he didn't just want to act. He wanted it to be real. He made the director watch him play baseball before filming. He showed up. He hit from both sides of the plate. He threw. He ran. He proved he could do it. Then he carried the film. Studios didn't believe a baseball movie could sell. Costner helped prove them wrong. The movie made over $50 million, and critics loved it. A year later, he did Field of Dreams, a quiet, strange movie about a farmer hearing voices in a cornfield. If you build it, he will come. That line became part of American culture. The film made almost $85 million. It got Oscar nominations. People still quote it today. It didn't just make money, it made memories. By 1990, Costner wanted more than acting. He started TG Productions to make the movies he believed in. The first was Dances with Wolves. Studios said it was too long, too risky, too weird. They told him to cut the Native American language scenes. He said no. They told him to cut the budget. He said no. He put in his own money, millions of it. It could have ruined him. Instead, it won 7 Oscars and made over $400 million. He kept going. He made The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston. Another gamble, another success, over $400 million at the box office. And the soundtrack became the best-selling movie soundtrack of all time. Years later, when no one else believed in a project called Horizon, he did it again. He mortgaged his dream house to fund it. Same mindset, same risk, same heart, and the same reason, because Kevin Costner doesn't wait for permission to tell a story. He just builds it. Kevin Costner didn't just act. He went all in. For Dances with Wolves, he spent 9 months learning Lakota Sioux. Not just a few words here and there, he actually worked with Native American advisors and insisted that nearly a third of the movie be in proper Lakota. That bold move made studios nervous. 2 of them passed on the film, but Orion Pictures took the risk. Costner brought in Doris Leader Charge, a 60-year-old Lakota teacher who translated the script and coached the whole cast for 6 months. She said she earned more in that half-year than she ever had teaching on the Rosebud Reservation. And yet, even with all that effort, some Native audiences laughed when they watched the film. Russell Means, an Oglala Lakota activist, pointed out that many of the male characters, including Costner, were speaking the feminine version of Lakota. Still, this was one of the first times a Hollywood film gave that much screen time to an indigenous language, and people noticed. When Dances with Wolves hit the Oscars in 1991, it shook Hollywood. On March 25th, in front of nearly 43 million viewers, it won 7 Academy Awards out of 12 nominations. Costner took Best Director, only the 5th person ever to win that for a debut film, and was also nominated for Best Actor. The movie beat Scorsese's Goodfellas, and many critics still argue about whether that was fair. But the Academy clearly preferred the sweeping frontier epic over the gritty mafia classic. As Costner stood on stage holding his Oscar, he admitted he hadn't trusted himself, but the result was undeniable. Dances with Wolves became the first Western to win Best Picture in 60 years. Costner didn't slow down. Just days after finishing Dances with Wolves, he jumped into Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He barely had time to rest. The schedule was so tight, he skipped stunt doubles and did most of the action himself. He climbed castle walls, leapt over moats, and even hurt his shoulder doing it. One wild stunt involved launching himself over a 10-meter-high wall with a catapult. That meant they had to calculate the physics down to the kilogram, about 5,000 kilograms of force needed to get it right. One day on set in France, a stuntman offered to go find magic mushrooms between takes. Costner laughed it off. especially since they had a sword fight scene coming up. "Dick, you ate mushrooms. We're going to be swinging swords in an hour," he said. Meanwhile, planes kept roaring overhead from Heathrow Airport, ruining takes and forcing them to redo the exhausting castle climbs again and again. Then came JFK. It wasn't just another role. It was a battle. Costner played Jim Garrison, the New Orleans DA who believed there was a conspiracy behind Kennedy's death. Director Oliver Stone wasn't pulling any punches. The film suggested the CIA, FBI, military, and even the vice president could have been involved. It caused a firestorm months before it was even released. Journalists, historians, and government officials called it dangerous, but Costner didn't back down. He told Time magazine that even asking these questions was liberating. "Any discussion of what could be the truth can only make us freer," he said. His performance wasn't about proving Garrison right. It was about making the audience take him seriously. And it worked. After the movie dropped in December 1991, the United States government passed a law in 1992 to release secret JFK assassination files to the public. But perhaps the smartest move of Costner's career came in 1992 with The Bodyguard. He could have taken a $10 million paycheck up front. Instead, he gambled on the film's success and asked for a percentage of the profits. He also waited a full year for Whitney Houston's schedule to clear because he knew she was perfect for the role. And he was right. The movie came out on November 25th, 1992, the same day as Disney's Aladdin, and made $16.6 million in its first weekend. It went on to gross $410.9 million worldwide. In Japan alone, it made over $21 million and became Warner Brothers' biggest hit there. Costner's take from the box office and the soundtrack royalties added up to over $20 million, maybe even $30 million. The soundtrack, featuring Houston's legendary version of "I Will Always Love You," sold over 50 million copies. It won Album of the Year at the Grammys. Costner's bet had paid off twice, once in money and again in legacy. Kevin Costner was once Hollywood royalty, but in 1994, everything started to fall apart. It began with Waterworld, a movie that should have been his big blockbuster. Instead, it turned into a nightmare. A hurricane hit the Hawaiian set mid-filming, not just some rain. It wiped out a floating set worth $5 million. And that wasn't even the expensive one. The main set, called the Atoll, cost $22 million, stretched a quarter-mile wide, and weighed over 1,000 tons. They had to ship steel in from California because Hawaii ran out. People almost drowned. His co-stars got thrown off a boat. Costner nearly died tied to a mast. The stunt coordinator got compression sickness and had to be airlifted to a hospital. The budget exploded. It started at $65 million, then jumped to $100 million, then $135 million, and finally hit $175 million. Add $60 million for marketing, and it became a $235 million gamble. In 1995, that was unheard of. Independence Day cost only $75 million. People started calling it Fish Tar and Kevin's Gate. Even though it made money later from home video, the damage was done. He wasn't just a movie star anymore. He was a punchline. Then came the drama with the director. Kevin Reynolds, once his friend and partner from Robin Hood, quit after 133 miserable days. He left with a brutal quote, "Kevin should direct himself." And that's exactly what Costner did. He finished the film alone. At the same time, his 16-year marriage ended. Some said his personal pain leaked into his behavior on set. The tabloids ate it up. To make it worse, a story broke that Costner wanted digital hair added to cover his balding head. He denied it, called it bullshit, and said he never worked high or drunk. But the rumors stuck. People mocked him. They said he was vain. They said he was difficult. It became part of the diva label he couldn't shake. 2 years later, he tried again with The Postman. It bombed even harder. The movie won Razzies for Worst Picture, Worst Actor, and Worst Director. He won every category he was nominated for. That had never happened before. By 1998, critics weren't just bored of him. They wanted him gone. But he didn't quit. In 2003, he came back with Open Range. No explosions, no gimmicks, just an old-school Western with heart. He directed it himself and starred in it with Robert Duvall. It cost $26 million and made over $68 million worldwide. He bet on himself, and this time it worked. Then, in 2007, he shocked everyone. In Mr. Brooks, he played a serial killer, not a cowboy, not a hero, a murderer hiding behind a perfect smile. It was dark, it was disturbing, and it was one of the best things he ever did. He used his nice guy image to scare you. It worked. By 2012, he was winning Emmys Hatfields, and McCoy's was gritty, violent, and real. Costner almost didn't take the role. He said no 3 times, but when he did, the result was magic. Over 14 million people watched the premiere. He won Best Actor and reminded Hollywood why they loved him in the first place. And he kept going. In 2016, while filming Hidden Figures, he was in agonizing pain from kidney stones. He acted through it on morphine. He didn't miss a single day. Not one. Even when the pain left bruises on his arms, he just rolled down his sleeves and kept shooting. Then came Yellowstone. In 2017, Taylor Sheridan wanted Costner to play John Dutton. Costner wasn't sure. He agreed to just 1 season with conditions, but once the show aired in 2018, it slowly became a massive hit. It wasn't a flashy show. It didn't win big awards, but people loved it. In the first season, he earned $500,000 per episode. That alone is a massive paycheck. But as the show exploded in popularity, so did his salary. By season 5, he was making $1.3 million per episode. Episodes at that rate gave him $18.2 million in 1 season, and that wasn't enough for him. In 2023, he reportedly asked for $1.5 million per episode. At the same time, he was knee-deep in his dream project, Horizon, an American saga. This didn't sit well with the show's producers. Filming schedules clashed. What used to be 8-week shoots turned into 12-week commitments. Costner had planned Horizon during Yellowstone's off weeks, but those off weeks kept shifting. It all fell apart in early 2023 when the producers offered him a chopped-up deal season 5A and 5B instead of full seasons. Costner refused. He turned to Horizon. That choice killed off John Dutton, and not in a noble way. The mid-season premiere in November 2024 shocked fans. Dutton was found dead in a bathtub, a note nearby. At first, it looked like a suicide. But 2 episodes later, the truth came out. He was murdered, smothered by 3 hitmen sent by Sarah Atwood. They faked the suicide, left a forged note, and tried to make it all vanish. But it didn't work. Case spotted the inconsistencies. A homicide probe began. Then Sarah Atwood herself was gunned down, shot twice in the head and chest during a reunion with Jamie. Costner didn't even know his final episode had aired until the next day. He admitted it in an interview the morning after. "I heard it's a suicide," he said. "He doesn't make me want to go see it." He had once pitched 2 endings for Dutton. Neither were used. Instead, the show made its own call. One that Costner publicly shrugged off. Still, while others on the cast were earning $200,000 an episode, Costner walked away with over $24 million in the final season. And the ratings, even without him, the show broke records. $16.4 million tuned in for the 5B premiere. That beat the $15.9 million who had watched the 5A premiere 2 years earlier, and it all started with just $2.8 million in Season 1. Costner had already moved on. Horizon wasn't just a film, it was his obsession. He started writing it in 1988. He couldn't let it go. After Open Range in 2003, he tried pitching it to Disney, but they rejected him over a $5 million budget dispute. For decades, it sat untouched. Then, in 2022, he finally found the backing, but not without a price. He mortgaged his 10-acre oceanfront property in Santa Barbara, the house he called his last house. He told his accountant he was putting $38 million of his own money into Horizon. The accountant freaked out. Costner didn't care. "It's my life," he said. "I believe in it." The budget for the first 2 chapters hit $100 million. He personally funded more than a third. When Horizon, Chapter 1, premiered at Cannes on May 19, 2024, it was supposed to be his grand return to directing after Dances with Wolves. But critics were split. Some loved it, others didn't. The box office didn't help. The film made just $38.7 million worldwide. That was less than what Costner had personally poured in. But he pushed on. Chapter 2 premiered in Venice. Chapter 3 began shooting in May 2024. Chapter 4 is already in development. This is no small-scale project. Over 170 speaking roles across 4 films. Chapter 1 alone had names like Sienna Miller, Sam Worthington, and Luke Wilson. Costner was all in, even as the money came up short. He refused to stop. While his movies faced tough numbers, his personal life was just as chaotic. His first marriage to Cindy Silva ended in 1994. He lost $80 million in the divorce. They had 3 kids, no prenup. He later called it one of the lowest points in his life. But by 2025, the two had reportedly become friends again. She even helped him through his next divorce. That one came from Christine Baumgartner. They were married for 18 years. She filed on May 1st, 2023. It came out of nowhere. He had signed a prenup this time, but the battle was brutal. She had to leave his homes. He was paying $63,209 a month in support. By early 2025, she got engaged to a former friend of his, Josh Connor. Rumors flew that Costner was planning to renegotiate the deal once she remarried. And then there were the Yellowstone rumors. Just as the divorce broke, wild stories started spreading. One said he got a crew member pregnant on set. Another claimed he was skipping filming. His team called it all nonsense. Still, the rumors stuck. The timing seemed designed to hurt him. In early 2025, Costner began dating again. But he had one rule: no Hollywood actresses. Insiders said he wanted someone average. His friends tried setting him up. He was acting like a man in his 20s. He didn't want anything serious, not yet. He had already lived the full Hollywood cycle: fame, marriage, scandal, divorce, and now freedom. Kevin Costner is 70 now, but instead of slowing down, he's speeding up. On May 26, 2025, his new docuseries, Kevin Costner's The West, will premiere on the History Channel. It's not just one episode. It's a special 2-episode event to kick off an 8-part series. Then another episode follows the next night before the show settles into its regular Monday slot. This series is different. It's not about cowboys with perfect teeth riding into the sunset. It's about land, conflict, and the raw truth of how the West was really won or stolen. Costner worked with Doris Kearns Goodwin, a Pulitzer Prize-winning historian. Big names, big story, and he's not just hosting. He's producing it with Academy Award winners. This is not a retirement project. This is a mission. But that's just one part of what he's doing. Costner is still fighting to finish his 4-part film series Horizon. The first chapter bombed, only $38.7 million earned on a $100 million budget. It was a box office disaster. Warner Brothers got nervous and pushed back the release of Chapter 2. But Costner didn't quit. At the Venice Film Festival, he admitted the climb got harder. The rock fell back downhill, he said. But I have to put my hands on it again. That rock? It's Chapter 3. He's already spent $38 million of his own money, and now he's trying to find more to finish. Not just one film, but maybe both Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, together in 2025. The odds are against him, but that only seems to fuel him more. When I feel rejection, my desire increases, he said, to make all this happen. Costner didn't just write scripts or yell action. He built something real. In February 2024, he announced a massive $100 million film studio in Utah, 500 acres of it. It's called Territory Film Studios. Roads, water lines, power. It's all getting built near St. George Airport. Phase 1 includes a 39,000-square-foot warehouse, already being used to shoot Horizon. Chapter 3, Phase 2, coming soon, adds a 20,000-square-foot sound stage and office space. There's even talk of a Kevin Costner-themed restaurant. When it's all done, the place could start with 30 full-time jobs and grow even bigger if studios start renting space. This isn't just about one movie. Costner is trying to build a legacy. But it's risky. Very risky after Horizon. Chapter 1 flopped. His finances took a hit. Opening weekend brought in only $11 million. That's not even close to what was needed. Reports say he backed the movie by mortgaging his own land in California, including his 10-acre ranch in Santa Barbara. Some say he ignored his accountant's warnings. Others say he's running out of time. By late 2024, people close to him were worried. He was selling things, moving money, trying to keep the dream alive. One source said he's operating on a wing and a prayer. If things don't turn around, he could lose even more.